mean, if we applied this kind of depth of thinking for scholarships to how much we can learn or how much we can be inspired to learn from our lectures, I think many of us would suffer a little less from the idea of lectures. Okay, so we can do an overview of the agenda, and we definitely don't have to hit all the points on the agenda. Jeff, are you going to stand up for the rest?
I need to stand up. My legs are like, can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you. That's a monitor, right? You have 2 monitors.
I have 3 monitors now. It's gorgeous.
I see. Okay. So let's see. One thing we might want to talk about is, and this, we can keep an open loop on this, and is how to best organize the topics that we cover from each of our meetings so that we can actually reference and share the meetings and the timestamps with others or for ourselves in the future. So I have some ideas on this. Like I can just pretty much compile our meeting notes with timestamps at the bottom into one master document, and that could be a beginning. But so we can come back to that.
Can you, so one of the questions that I have for you on this item, how much processing time does it take to convert? Can you describe the process that preempts this question?
Yeah. So during our live meeting, I'll take notes, and in the past, I've taken notes by pretty much transcribing as much as I can whenever you two speak. And then I realized that wasn't really effective. So in the last 2 meetings that we've had, I've been able to take more maybe concise notes in the actual meeting agenda document. And then I'll have approximate timestamps on it. So the live recording on YouTube, as soon as this meeting ends, it's pretty much published. And then what I'll do is I'll just copy and paste the meeting notes with timestamps into the YouTube description. So it'll be generally around that ballpark. So for example, today at around the 8-minute mark, we began talking about scholarship prep. But as you can tell, I wrote a lot because there was a lot of ideas, right? Frameworks, capturing small milestones, finding people who are close to you and having them share your lessons, etc. All of that. So from like 8 minutes to 27, that's how much was covered. But I think all of it was under this idea of scholarships. So I didn't make another timestamp for it. I think 2 or 3 meetings ago is where I actually cut apart the full meeting into some different sections through Adobe Premiere. And that probably took some time just because my initial round of notes was more transcription and not like larger topics and categories. So I'm still getting better at this, like how to do this, but it's not too big of an investment for sure.
Well, this process that you're doing right now is so powerful, where you're like live capturing the timestamps so that you can just like copy and paste it.
Yeah, when I was filming you, Jeff, for the linear algebra, I tried to do that on that paper, remember? But
so you know what's funny about that, Henry, is that it dawned on me as I was doing my MATLAB videos that's what you were trying to coach me to do. It's like, oh, that's what you were trying to position me to be able to just use those as timestamps, right?
Yeah, and then you can look at the audio marks or the levels of the audios, but I know I didn't explicitly state it. And I knew it was off too, because there was
it's a little bit different in the sense that the reason that this is so powerful is because this is an actual live recording. And so the raw film is like, the timestamps correlate with that. Whereas when I was using so what I would do is I would take like one MP4 file and I would break it into 5 different actual recordings, right? And so minute 10 on the actual recording correlated to like minute 2 of the raw data for the second video, right? And so it ended up that when I was trying to do the timestamps, I had to do a lot of math, and it was easier just to look at the darn thing. And I didn't know, at that point, I was not as conscious about the fact that I could use timestamps to organize my content, right? So you were 4 steps ahead of your teacher in that case.
Yeah, and then one day I'll show you the Adobe Premiere thing. I think there is a way that I can get you access to that.
I have it. I have access to that now.
You have access to the Adobe Premiere?
Yeah, we have Adobe Creative Cloud. So this week I've been doing some stuff that I thought would make you proud. Foothill College gave me that new computer that I've been working for 2 years. Yeah, so they gave me a new computer, and when I went there, the guy was like, "Oh, do you use Adobe products?" And the first thing I said is yes, even though I hadn't, right? Because I was thinking about you, and so I have access to like, 80 different Adobe products. Spark, I got, Premiere is one of them. Illustrator, I spent like 7 hours making a model of a simple von Neumann machine to describe what for loops do, and that was, Anyways.
Awesome. Okay, I can totally show you my processes of how I cut up that meeting from a few meetings ago.
Awesome.
Because it was really efficient compared to when I tried it on Camtasia.
Yeah, definitely. I think what I learned recently is Camtasia is child's play compared to Adobe products.
Oh my God, the math! Have you seen just the audio effects alone? There's like so many options in visual effects on Adobe Premiere.
Yeah, Steve, have you played with this stuff before?
With Adobe Premiere, no, just like Photoshop, but even that, it's a little complicated.
Yeah, it's quite crazy.
This guy did a good job with this. Give me a second here.
Mm-hmm.
There's this. Sorry. I hate the fact that they get automatic ads. I love the fact that creators get paid. I hate that you have to do ads for that. So in this here, this guy did a good job. So that video is titled "All 50 plus Adobe Apps Explained in 10 Minutes." So he describes the difference between all the Adobe apps, and that was useful. Yeah, he's like.
I made this video to.
So when you're at some point, you guys might like reading that. But because of you, Henry, I've decided that I will slowly transition into Adobe products away from Camtasia. It's going to take me a few years, but to do it well. But I'm going to do it.
Okay. All right. So
the question that you have there is, so you have this process that you're cutting them up, and the question is, okay, once you have this raw content, it would be really powerful to be able to link in future media content, whether that be videos or blog posts or podcasts, backwards to the stuff that we've already created, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're recognizing that right now all we have is raw cannon fire, and it's actually, we have so much of that it's hard to remember what we have, question mark.
Yeah, like for example, 2 weeks ago, you talked about the UC's 80% research, 20% teaching, that whole entire split, including the Donahue Act, right? But like if you imagine when you have a student next quarter and you actually you feel like they might want to hear you talk about that, I don't think, how are you going to know what video it's on and around what time it is? And I think that if we create a master list of our meetings and the topics covered in our meetings with approximate timestamps, then that wouldn't be too far of a stretch to be able to begin dispersing some of the stuff you're sharing with Steve and I, right? To a larger crowd.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah. As far as like actually cutting them into more digestible chunks like that's something I'm working on. And there's a lot. Yeah.
I'd be happy to share some of that labor as we figure out the flow. Like that's part of what I'm trying to do by getting myself up and running on that. So it's not fair that one person has to do, if we're going to use that type of mechanism, it'd be nice, like Toastmasters, right? It would be really nice to be able to, some days you do table topics, master, some days you do timer someday, right? It would be nice to be able to shift the responsibility around so that each of us kind of gets a sense of the different, so after one meeting, I can cut it up in Adobe Premiere, and Steve is taking the timestamps, and Henry, you're just talking, right?
Yeah. Okay, great. So from today, I'll start a master list of the meetings that we have, and I'll try to get out the topics of the meetings with approximate timestamps. But I guess that part's already being done live during meeting for the most part, unless I go back and make it into shorter clips, in which I would try to get more detailed and understanding this 5-minute clip is about all these sub-themes too.
Yeah, and I'd be so happy if you could coach us. I think one of the things I noticed as I was looking at that right now is you are good at this. You have a pretty good system. And so, if I'm going to do that job, I could try to recreate that for myself, or I could learn from wisdom, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely happy to share. I also just feel like I'm every meeting since the big meeting that we had with the admins, I'm still working on the system itself. So yes, I will definitely share with both of you it's a big one.
Awesome.
Okay. Third point, it was just a little note. I think you had texted me, Jeff, that you had captured a question about podcasting, but it sounds like you're already on it. Like you're already recording and trying.
Yeah, I think the question was about like just how would I put it on the learning code, but I don't think that's hard. As long as I have access to the account, I think I can just upload it, put a title on it.
Yep.
Are there certain formats that you would recommend that I like, timestamping or show notes or something like that you would recommend for the next iteration?
If the file is just you reading your blog post, then no, I think in the description you should just link to your blog post, and then the title can literally be the blog post title.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here, let's see. So points 4, 5, and 6. Points 4. I was wondering. Well, point 4 is actually 2 points. So the one point in point 4 is the learning needs hierarchy. Jeff so beautifully presented in his CMC Cube talk. But another point of this, as I've been thinking about the plan, act, and reflect, it over the past couple weeks, this is something we might think about expanding upon too, because there's that, like, to be honest, at some point we were saying like study skills and learning habits is actually commonsensical, but it's actually, it's only commonsensical after you like get the ball rolling and you're doing it. It's actually not that commonsensical. Like, why is it that I plan, act, and reflect for our meetings for the learning code 10 times as much as I plan, act, and reflect for my lectures in data structures? Like there's it's actually quite complex, right? So we can do that. And then Steve and I had a few brief mini conversations about Seth Godin's blog. Jeff, I don't know if you read any of his recent blog posts.
Read some of his blog posts, but recent, can you define recent?
Anything probably within the last 2 years, it seems.
Yeah, I read some of those things.
Yeah, they're like really short and sweet, and I realized, that he's kind of earned the right to make them short and sweet with how much he writes and, cutting the fat, etc. So, and he also has an Instagram page, but I don't think we need to cover that today. Number 6, just real quick. So this is something number 6 was part of my to-do for this week, which was expanding on the question that Jeff had for us from his research is what we hope to achieve through online video. And immediately I feel that the time that we spend in these meetings is really precious, as I've mentioned over and over again. So I think we can really not only, rekindle our morale and our spirits in this teaching and learning journey during our meetings, but we can also make some pretty authentic and cool videos that can help others. And we've already been doing that. But since last week, I shared those 7 points, being catchy, right? Being strategically entertaining, funny, factual, authentic, evidence-based and shareable. And then I dug a little deeper in thinking about this. So one of the, I would say our competitive edges, or maybe one of the ways I feel that our content can help students in the YouTube space that I don't see being addressed, is weaving in the learning science and the pedagogy and the academic navigation, as well as even a bit of critical race theory. So um, I know that we can do that in our content for our audience members. And that's something that the next layer to that is, how do we do that, right? Because ultimately, I am far from an expert in any of those things. So if I just talk about it in a meeting format, I'm not even quite sure I would be that keen to share, even if it's a 4-minute clip of me talking about what I prepped with my classmates. So I've been thinking about, there's this comedian called Andrew Schultz. I watched him perform live 6 years ago in Sunnyvale at the comedy club Rooster T. Feathers for free. And I remember him trying to slang like CDs at the end of that thing, like so many old school comics do. Since then, he has now about 1.5 million YouTube subscribers. He gives this 11-minute TED talk that I link in here. And he talks about, like, can comedy ever be funny? Like, how do we really be authentic without hurting people's feelings, without, and doing that, because that's his craft. And what resonated with me is when he said that when he began like giving out content, he first gave it in long form, like it was like hour-long clips when he first started uploading. But then he invested in a media guy, and then they started editing the clips to make it more snappy and short and digestible. And that's when he really started selling out a lot of his comedy shows. And I think there's two things. I think one is an exercise that I think we might try, is like writing our own comedy sketches that is couched in learning science, our experiences as we were navigating the system. Um, like, not like slapstick comedy, but like legitimate stories. So I actually prepared one today that I'm happy to present a little bit. Um, I think Andrew is pretty cool. And on YouTube world, he's considered like the king of crowd work, where he like roasts his audience members. And, I don't think we have the medium to do that really, but I think we do. We can there's certainly capture some laughs, and we can certainly bring authenticity to what it means to learn and what it means to get good grades. So I thought that'd be a fun creative exercise we might want to explore. Um, so that is an overview of some thoughts I had. And last meeting, I'm so happy that Jeff brought up Fink's significant learning experiences. I do think we've already had segments of our meetings where we cover learning how to learn, caring, human dimension, as well as integration. So I think we can continue to do that. And if I think about the 7th point of our stuff potentially being shareable in the future, I know that if we can exercise some creativity by leveraging humor in like helping students focus how to learn, or focus on creating significant learning experiences, I think we can do it. I think there are definitely ways to do it. My today's example isn't totally that, but it's something. I've never actually scripted a segment of comedy, so. Okay, I'm gonna open the floor up. It won't take me long to read what I had drafted for the comedy thing, but Jeff, also, like, if you feel we should at least dedicate 10 minutes to your learning needs hierarchy, I can feature a little bit of your talk, and then we can dig a little deeper. And that talk was catered towards instructors, right? But I think that learning needs hierarchy is also could be really beneficial for students, right? Like how they can approach that. Or we can talk about the plan, act, reflect cycle.
Well, I think we should try like the comedy thing. I have some
Reservations.
yeah, I'm so down to try. Like in Toastmasters, they have so after you finish your competent communicator manual, there's 10 speeches. They have specialty manuals, And I always wanted to get into the comedy one. There's this, that idea of being able to like work a room is really exciting. But the further I ventured down that thought process, the more I realized that good comedy is a profession. There's a reason why these people get paid a lot, right? And so I get a little bit nervous of the idea of like, and the other thing that's true about comedians, some of the most popular comedians that we see will have teams of writers, like people that have done this for years. So it's not the case that, and that makes me a little nervous in the sense, like if all of a sudden I'm using a metric, like let me be like Hassan Minaj, for example, right? Who's just fucking funny. But he also has a team of writers that make a lot of money on that process. And so if I